What a wonderful moment to be alive as we see, first of all, Brexit and then the Trump double whammy. And the left just don't know what hit them. I was at King's College, Cambridge, which is a communist college at an increasingly communist university, my old alma mater. And at King's College, Cambridge, there were 100 undergraduates in the Politics Society, and we had a debate. And I was on the side of Mr. Trump, and the other 4 speakers were not. That is the kind of balanced debate at Cambridge these days, 4 against 1. And I said to them, right, how many of you would have voted for Brexit if you could, or did vote for Brexit? And I predicted that less than 10% of them would. In fact, it was 5. So I said, all right, how many of you think that spending on defence should be increased to reverse the enormous and dangerous cuts of previous decades? And I predicted less than 5% would agree to that. It was 3. So I said, all right, how many of you think that immigration ought to be more rigorously controlled? I predicted 5%, 2%. And how many of you, I said, think that climate change has been just that little bit exaggerated? 1%, I predicted 5 again. So what we're looking at here is an ideological monoculture, a hive mind of the left, where they all think the same about every major bone of political contention. And they have this robotic uniformity of view. And I said to them, why is it that you are so predictable? Why is it that you don't see any point to Trump and to Brexit and to this movement where ordinary people, and these days increasingly it's working people? That's right. Well, this of course is very evident in the measures you see being proposed by the left to make sure that Trump doesn't actually become president. They've been nobbling the members of the Electoral College, trying to get them to change their votes away from what the Constitution would expect them to do. And that, I think, will fail. I think he has a large enough majority there that even though there'll be a few wobblers, he'll still carry the day very clearly. I think it's towards the end of December they do that. And that was their first thing. The next thing, as you were mentioning just a moment ago, they turn out on the streets and start throwing things, and they start rioting because they can't accept the will of the people in a democratic system if the will of the people doesn't happen to agree with them. And look how remarkable it was. After all the advantages were with Hillary Clinton. She outspent Trump approximately 2-1. She had virtually every mainstream, or I call it Marxstream, news medium on her side. She had all that going for her. She had all the young people, all the universities. She had all the blacks and Hispanics, who, of course, are becoming more and more numerous as immigration fails to be controlled properly. For all these reasons, she should, by any analysis, have won this, and won it, I think, shows a very welcome change in the Hispanic. I've been watching this for some time. They are much more entrepreneurial and free market minded than the blacks are. Let's be clear about it. They do see things differently, and a very large proportion of them did vote for Trump, whereas the blacks were pretty solidly for Clinton. And I think this does show an interesting change in demographic, and one of the things that Grand Old Party is going to have to do is to try to find a way to talk to the blacks as well. It's already done the Hispanics, largely through people like Ted Cruz, of course, but now it needs to do the same for the black vote, so as to cut off all the major areas of support that the so-called Democrats once had. I think they are crumbling. And the reason why they're crumbling is that they are, in particular, they've lost their connection with the working classes. But what is fascinating is that they've thrown away the one priceless advantage they had, which is that working people used to vote left. Voters from the working classes, particularly in the north of England, he's saying, look, what have the left ever actually done for you? What has the European Union done for you? Look about you. It hasn't changed anything very much. So for heaven's sake, vote UKIP, and then we'll get rid of the EU, and that leaves a lot more money for our government to spend in areas.
Thank you.